Hello, yeah, welcome to another tutorial in our 30 days sew with Tia sewing challenge. Thank you for your love, support, and likes in my previous video. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this versatile cross tie blouse that could be worn from the back to the front or from the front to the back. I have a tutorial that shows the shorter version of this, that's in sense that if you want to wear it as a crop top, then I will leave that link in the description box where you can watch that particular video. It's almost the same step. Okay, without further ado, let's jump right into how to sew this particular top. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to be making use of one trouser length of this Mikado fabric. Now I'm going to advise you that if you are going to make yours, please do well to make use of any fabric that is flowing. Let's say like a soft silk or chiffon material. So I'm going to be starting with my back pattern. And for my back pattern, I had to do a joining because my material was not enough. And for the length, I have 23.5 inches, which was way shorter than what I want, but I had to make do with whatever I had. So this is 23.5 inches for the length, and the wideness is totally up to you. For me, I made use of 15 inches for the wideness. Okay, now for the front, I have 36 inches for the length, and the wideness is same as the back, which is 15 inches. Now you can't do this particular tutorial if your front fabric would not be up to your knee length. So make sure that your front length is more than your knee length, or at least at your knee length. Okay, so I'm going to be starting with the back pattern, as you can see. So I'm going to go ahead to indicate my origin point, and I'm just starting at the very top. Okay, what I have here, like I told you, is 15 inches. Okay, so I have 15.5 inches, but what I really need is 15 inches. So I'm going to be making use of that. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to go ahead to indicate my neck width measurement. So I'm going to be working with 4 inches for my neck width, and for my neck depth I'm going to be working with 1.5 inches. You can go lower than this or higher than this depending on what you want. Okay, so I've just gone ahead to connect that. Then the next thing I'm going to do for the shoulder slope, okay, I'm going to be coming down by 3 inches. Now one thing you need to understand about this particular style is, for the shoulder slope, the reason why we always come down is because the more you come down, I don't even know how to explain this properly, but it has this drapey effect, like kind of effect it gives your sleeve region. Okay, so from that point now I went ahead to, I'm going to go ahead to impute my sleeve opening point. Now this is totally dependent on what you want. For me, I made use of 10 inches for my sleeve opening. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and to indicate my waist point. So from that point, I just went ahead to mark that part straight. Okay, so on this point, I'm going to be inserting my bust measurements divided by 4, and I'm going to go as well to add my extra allowance that I want on that region. Okay, so on that point now, my waist measurement, my bust round measurement divided by 4 is 9.5. So I went ahead to indicate that part. Then I'm going to be adding extra allowance to it. I just make sure everything is up to 15. So I added about 6.5, 5 inches to that point. 6.5 inches to that point. So I just went ahead to mark that same point on my waist region, and I also went toward my hemline, and I'm going to go as well to mark that 15 inches on my hemline. So after marking that point, I'm going to go ahead to connect these 3 points together using a straight line, as you can see. And from that straight line now, I'm going to be making a curve toward my sleeve opening. So for my sleeve opening, I'm making use of the entire allowance I have, and I just made a curve from that point. Now after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to label this part, that is the bust point, then my waist point, and of course my hemline, so that you can understand this better. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut this now. Okay, remember my fabric is on fold. I'm going to go ahead to cut out the excess I don't need. And to that 5 inches I added, I already have my sewing allowance added to that measurement. So I just went ahead to mark this point, and I'm going to go ahead to trim the shoulder slope, as you can see, and the neckline. So after joining, this is what I have. This is what the back look like. And I'm just going to go ahead, okay, to measure that sleeve region. For the sleeve region now, I have the sleeve length, I have 16 inches. I'm going to be adding a band to this particular blouse because I want the length to be longer than that. So I went ahead to cut this point on fold, this particular fabric on fold. So at the end of the day, what I want to have on that sleeve length, for the sleeve length, is going to be 18 inches from the center front. Now this is really not necessarily if you want, not necessary if you want a shorter sleeve, okay? I went ahead to cut this long strip of fabric on fold, and I'm going to be joining it to the sleeve region. Now, after doing that, I went ahead to put this on my front pattern, okay? So note, because of my joining, I had to join my back, like I said earlier. I'm just going to make sure that the point I'm laying on my front pattern now is going to be on the midpoint, not on the extra allowance I have, just the midpoint where I have the joining line. So I'm going to go ahead, first of all, to cut out the same neckline for my front, then ensuring I cut out the same sleeve also. I'm going to go ahead to trim out that shoulder slope, as you can see. Then I'm going to go ahead from that shoulder slope, as you can see me do, to trim out the same length, the same width, just following my back pattern measurement till I get to the end of my front length. Now, so basically we are doing everything we did in front to the back. The only difference is that the length of the front is more than that of the back. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead to also indicate my waist point region. That was why I had to mark out that point on my back measurement, okay? So you are going to mark out your waist region. This is really important. And I'm going to be creating a notch at that point because I'm going to be needing that point for my front pattern, okay? Then I also went ahead to note my bust, my waist region. All right, so I'm going to be working on the front pattern. So the first thing I'm going to do is from that waist region, I'm going to mark out horizontal line, okay? So that you can see it clearly. Then from that waist region, I went down also by 2 inch, like 3 inches. I went down by 3 inches. And that is the two horizontal lines you can see. So the first thing we want to do now is to kind of create a curve on this line. So the first thing I'm going to do now, so what I have on that line, as you can see, is 3.5 inches. I just noted the midpoint, which is 1.5. And the next thing I'm going to do from that point now is to go to this line where I have my 1.5. I'm going to be measuring 0.75 inches. Okay, 0.75 inches. So this is 0.75 inches. When I open it up, it's going to be giving us 1.5. So from that point, I'm going to be creating a straight line to the end of my blouse. Just watch closely what I'm doing, please, in order for you to understand better. So I'm going to connect that point together with a straight line like so. I just went ahead to indicate that 0.5 inches on all of these lines, and I've connected it straight. Okay, so after doing that now, we're also going to be working on the side, and on this side we're going to be creating a curve based on the design of this blouse. So what I went to do from the edge was I came out by 5 inches, okay, just as a guide. Then what I'm going to do from those points is to connect it, creating a curve. Now I need to understand, I need to explain something at this point. Towards this waist circumference point, this waistline point, we are going to be leaving 1 inch for folding because we're not going to be sewing this completely. Okay, so we're going to be folding this point on both sides separately. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be leaving about 1 inch okay, on that point, as you can see. So that's just 1 inch I went ahead to mark. So it's from that 1 inch now I'm going to go ahead to create my curve. You can decide to use your pattern master, but I'm just going to go ahead to work with my free hand. So I just went ahead to create a curve like so to the end of this. So I'm going to go ahead to cut it, and you're going to see what this curve look like. Okay, so this is the way I'm going to be cutting. I'm going to also add 0.75 inches, which I'm going to be using to turn that curve region. Remember that we're going to be folding that end. So just go as well to add your 0.5 inches on that region also. So after doing that, I went ahead to trim out the excess I don't need again. And after doing so, I'm going to go ahead to cut out the mid part in order to have that curved neckline, okay? So this is what the side is going to look like. And I'm going to go ahead to cut this curve, as you can see. Please, if you've watched up to this point and you're getting value, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this channel. Make sure you turn on your notification bell so that when I post videos, you get to see them. So I'm done cutting. Now you have to be careful with this particular edge so that you don't cut through the parts you don't need. So this is what it looks like after cutting. I'm going to open this up shortly for you to see what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead to increase the neck depth for the front. Remember we used 1.5 at the back, so I added 2 more inches to that to make it 3.5, and I'm just going to go ahead to trim that off for the neckline. So this is what the front neckline look like. I'm going to go ahead to cut facing and sew the facing on it off camera. Now, so this is what that part where we cut, this is what it looks like. You can see, and I've gone ahead to sew facing on the neckline. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut a bias for this part where we have the curve. So I'm just going to, I have to join some piece together. So I'm going to cut a bias. Then you have to clip the two sides together. These two sides, the part where we have the angle 90, you have to clip these two sides together in order to have, clip it slightly in order to have a smooth sewing experience when you get to that point. So what I went out to do was to, okay, just sew on bias. I had to use a bias strip to sew on this curve, and this is what I have at the end of the day. Now you need 2 rope, okay, for this particular tutorial. Initially I was supposed to join in at this point, but at the end of this tutorial, if you notice the intro video, I went way deeper, lower towards the hip region to join my rope. Okay, so now after doing that, you're going to go ahead to join your back to your front like so. I went ahead to join to cut facing for the back too, and I'm going to be joining it shoulder to shoulder, and after which I'm going to be joining this particular sleeve extension. Then I'm going to go ahead to show you what it looks like. So you see I've joined back the remaining sleeve. I've turned the back and the front with facing. That is what you can see over there. And you can see initially, like I said, this was where I joined the rope. I joined it like 2 inches from that curve, but I'm going to be removing this because I discovered I could not work at that point. You have to make it toward your sleeve, your hip region. So I'm going to go ahead to join this at the side, as you can see. Then I'm going to be folding that edge. Okay, I'm going to be leaving about 3 inches that I'm not going to sew. I'm going to leave that point. I'm just going to go ahead to fold the back and the front. Then I'm going to be top stitching this on the inside. I went ahead to weave the curved edges, as you can see. Not weave, rather fold in the curved edges. And basically that's it for this tutorial. So you have to just take your time to do this. So I'm just going to open this up. Okay, like I said, I'm going to be joining it at the side. Okay, from the sleeve region, I'm going to be joining it using my 1 inch. And then when I get to that lower end where I stop the curve that I notch, as you can see clearly, that's just about 3 inches. You can go higher. Okay, I'm going to go ahead to fold it like so. And after folding it like so, I'm just going to top stitch to leave those 2 points open. So I'm just going to go ahead to do this off camera and show you the final look of this dress. So this is what it looks like. This is the back I'm wearing as the front. In the intro video, I wore the front as it ought to be. So you can see the rope. The rope is on my hip region. So I just went ahead to style this. You can style this in various ways, either the front or the back. I hope you're enjoying this tutorial. This is one stylish top that I would advise you add to your wardrobe. Thank you very much.